I think it's a really interesting news poll in the Australian today, Pete. I think it shows two themes. I think the first theme is that the political contest is tightening at the federal level. So we can see that in those figures, 50-50 on 2PP. You've got a 2-point reduction for the coalition on primary, 43 to 41, 3-point boost for Labor, 33 to 36. So you've got that tightening at the federal level. But I think this brings us to the second theme, and I think that now what we're seeing is a conflict, a growing clash between the economic response to the coronavirus crisis and the health response. And one of the polls we've done, which is published today, is we've gauged sentiment towards the premiers and whether the premiers should be in control of border closures and shutdowns for health reasons. And there is overwhelming support from the people for the premiers to be able to do this, 80% support. And interestingly, if you look at where that support is coming from, it's in states where really they don't have huge coronavirus problems at the moment. You've got it in Western Australia, Queensland and South Australia really backing in that ability for the premiers to make that call. But this is problematic for Scott Morrison, and it's problematic for one key reason, and that reason is that his government is seen responsible for the economic response to the crisis. And the premiers are being seen responsible for managing the health response to the crisis. And they're now coming into conflict because these border closures, while popular, are hurting the economy. So we've seen Morrison start to take on the premiers over this, and the politics have started to get very messy. So I think that's the central dilemma now for Scott Morrison. He needs to go against a popular opinion here in encouraging the state premiers away from this sort of provincialism to try and get the economy back on track, to get people crossing the borders, families in those border communities being able to get exemptions easily, and normal life resuming as much as possible. So that's his central dilemma, I think, and that's what the figures show today.
Yeah, and I noticed, Josh Frydenberg has been doing the rounds this morning, expressing frustration at the Victorian Premier. That's been going on for a little while now, and this after the numbers, the true cost of the Victorian shutdown have emerged on the front page of the Herald Sun. They're in most papers they're talking about today, the fact that right up until the end of the March quarter next year, more Victorians are going to need government help than the rest of the country combined.
Yeah, that's right, Pete. I think this also picks up on that theme that I was just outlining, this growing conflict and tension now between the Commonwealth and the states. So there's a couple of things going on here. One conflict is over the borders, but the other major conflict or tension we're seeing now is between the federal government and the Victorian government over the economic cost of Victoria's second wave shutdown. And so Josh Frydenberg has been really, really strong on this. And I think what Josh Frydenberg's trying to do is he's trying to sort of sharpen up the avenues of political accountability so that the states have to be seen to be more accountable for their own lockdowns. So these figures are devastating. I saw him on your program just a little while ago. He was talking about hundreds of thousands of Victorians being unemployed. We know that the cost of the second wave, stage 4 restrictions in Victoria, that alone will be $7 to $9 billion, all up about $10 to $12 billion. We know that the vast majority, by the time it comes around to December, the vast majority of people on those JobKeeper wage subsidy payments are going to be in Victoria. About 60% of them will be based in Victoria. We know household spending has plummeted in Victoria, and the cost of these restrictions is seen to be about $300 to $400 million a day, according to some estimates. And what we're seeing from Josh Frydenberg, and a message that's being reinforced by the RBA Governor Phil Lowe, is the states have to do more heavy lifting. They've got to provide more programs to create jobs. And we saw Josh Frydenberg again say that this morning on your program. He said that the federal government response has been about 15% of GDP, and I think he said it was just over 2% for the states. So you're seeing him push really aggressively on that front.